Hi, this is Brian Kling, Global Technical Lead for the Civil Products and Autodesk Product Support. Today we're going to review in 3 sections the new ribbon interface for the 2010 product, and we'll start in part 1 with the adjoining features as well as the structure of the ribbon. In section 1 of this introduction to the ribbon, we're going to look at the basic structure of the ribbon itself and its surrounding components. We'll also review the terminology in the ribbon so that we're all kind of working on the same page. And then we'll move on to further sections where we'll explore more about the ribbon. Okay, so let's start off in the upper left corner. So we have the ribbon itself, which is brand new, and then we have these 2 component pieces which we have seen in 2009 as well. This is the application menu. If I select the down arrow here, then you'll see that we have, as you're probably familiar with, we have the normal file, shall we say, working with file type tools. So opening, saving, closing, exporting. We also have some drawing utilities like recover, audit, drawing status, purge, those type of things are here. You can also access drawing settings, units, that type of thing. Okay, now over on the right hand side, of course, we have our recent documents list, and we can change how that's ordered by the date we accessed it, or other things. That's our choice. Okay. One thing to note here is we have these pins. So this list, after you're working for a while, of course, will fill up, and then older items on the list will go away. Well, if you want to keep an item in the list, all you have to do is select the pin and pin it, and it will stay there until you unpin it. So that's a nice little tip, just in case that comes in handy for you. One other great thing in this application menu is you can type a command in here. So I can go ahead and search for something like import points, and it's going to search through and find whatever it found that seemed to be relevant to my search criteria. Now the other great thing you may not know is that I can actually go ahead and execute the command right from here. So importing points from a file, I'll go ahead and double click, and we can see it's already querying me, okay, which file do you want? So that could be a real nice way, especially if you're new to the ribbon and trying to get used to it. You may not want to search all the time and you just want to continue with your workflow. You can go ahead and click on that, and it will execute the command right there for you at that time. Up here next to the application menu and on top of the ribbon, we have the quick access toolbar. We've seen this also in other like Microsoft Office, other Windows programs, and we're not going to cover that a lot now. We'll look at it more in section 3, but suffice it to say that most people just kind of use what's already there, and they don't really think about other possibilities that exist. So let's move on now to our new portion of the user interface for 2010, and that is, of course, the ribbon itself. A little bit of history or background on this. Now the AutoCAD itself, this is the second iteration for the AutoCAD product. Their ribbon came out last year with 2009. We do benefit from having this version of the ribbon because it's version 2. So some of the kinks have been worked out, some improvements have been made. So we're getting our first ribbon is the improved version of the ribbon, or version 2. And we'll also see in the next section some of the improvements that have been made to the ribbon. But first of all, for us, this is all brand new. So let's go over some of the structure here. So what we have first, the first thing to note is we have what are called tabs. So along the top, that's our master place to be looking. So we select a tab and it shows us panels. So I select different tabs, and they're organized by workflow, by things that I want to actually accomplish. Most of them are. And then the Home tab, of course, is always where I return to, typically after I've performed some of these other operations. But you can see, as I click on a tab, then it's going to open up the commands that are available for that tab. So let's go back to our Home tab. So once again, these are tabs. Now in each tab, we have collections of what are called panels. So you can see along the bottom we have titles. These are the titles for the panel. And the panel, of course, is composed of a number of commands that exist between the vertical little bars we see here. So that's the entire profile and section view panel. Another important thing to note here, of course, is we see down arrows. So if I select one of those, that's going to give me more options. So look here on creating design. I want to go to feature line. So just selecting that down arrow gives me the other options that are available, the other command options that I can select from here. Okay, pretty straightforward. Then the panel itself next to the title, if that title has a down arrow, as we can see here we don't have one, but if we do have a down arrow we can select that as well, and this is what's called the extended panel. So what our product design team has tried to do is put the commands that they believe will be used most often to be up and visible all the time in the panel, and then to put ones that are still useful but probably not being used as often in the extended panel. Note we just talked about on the application menu we have that pin for setting recent drawings to stay in the recent drawing list. Well, we also here have a pin. If I pull my cursor off, this will roll back up. However, if I want to keep it open, I can select this pin here, and now you can see as I move my cursor around it will not roll back up. So just another little tip, trying to give you a full introduction to this ribbon. Alright, next I think we should certainly explore how to control the ribbon a bit. So over on the right here, what we have are 3 toggle states of displaying the ribbon. The default is to show the full state of the ribbon. Okay, so we're seeing all the icons and text, and we're seeing the panel titles and everything here. Now what we can do is just click on this once. This is it cycles through 3 different modes. So this next mode minimizes it so we only see the tabs, and then we see the panel titles. And as you can see, as I roll my cursor across a panel title, it automatically opens up that particular panel. And as my cursor moves off, the panel auto rolls up. Okay? Now let me select it one more time, and it's going to minimize even further. Now all I have are tabs across the top with no panel titles. In this particular mode, what I have to do to actually open it is click on it. So if I move the cursor over, you can see nothing happens. So I need to actually select the tab, and then the tab will open. The entire tab opens up almost in the full state, except if I roll my cursor off, once again it's going to close back up. So this is great after you've become accustomed to the ribbon. Then if you want to really maximize your drawing display, your screen real estate, you can control that over here so that you get a little bit more drawing display area, so you can focus more on the drawing itself once you become more familiar with these ribbons. Okay, and then all I have to do to get back to the default state is click it one more time. This is a round trip, so 3 clicks and you're back to where you started. Let's finish up this section just by reviewing one more option with our ribbon. I'll go back to the Home tab here. So one other thing that I can anticipate a lot of you will be working with this Create Design panel a lot, right? And then you may want to move over to a separate tab to access some other panel. That can be kind of aggravating to have to keep jumping back and forth when you're really only using maybe 2 panels or something like that. So there's another possibility here with the ribbon, and that is you can select a panel, click down and drag it into your drawing display. Now maybe I'm creating all kinds of objects in my drawing, and I can go ahead and access those commands, but I can also hop over to another tab here, and I still get this panel staying in my display area. So that can be nice for a workflow to know that that's a possibility for you. When you want to return it back to the tab, you're finished, just go ahead and move your cursor over. You see on the edges you get these icons. You can either go over to the right here, return panels to ribbon, you can click there, or you can grab it. This is a little bit bigger. You can grab it on the left side, just move it up, and you can see the Home tab is highlighted. It knows where it's supposed to go back to, and just let it go, and now it's returned back to its original default position. One other thing to mention is you can control the display of the various tabs and the panels just by right-clicking somewhere up in the ribbon. And you'll see here, of course, in tabs, we're seeing all the tab names across the top that we have currently on. Everything is checked. If I select something, then it will remove itself from the tabs, but I can always come back here and turn it back on. Then under the panels area, it's looking at the currently active tab and showing me every panel that's located in that tab. What we can see here is I actually minimized a couple of items because of the display resolution of creating this video, I wanted to take a few of these panels out. You can see, for example, my profile panel right here is kind of truncated because I don't have enough length horizontally. So if I go ahead and turn the clipboard one off, then I get that full view. And it's very easy, of course, to bring those back. Of course, you can just right click and go back here, and I can select and add those back in. Okay, so that concludes section 1. We'll move on to section 2, where we'll cover some of the workflow with the ribbon and the version 2 options, the contextual tabs. Alright, now we're on to section 2 of this ribbon introduction, where we're actually going to look a bit more at the workflow, how the ribbon actually functions as we try to actually accomplish things within the product. So here I have a very basic drawing. I've got an alignment and a surface. So let's have a look at what we can do here. So what I want to point out first is, remember, if you've been working with AutoCAD-based products for a while, we have what's called noun-verb selection. So what that means is I can either pick an object and then perform an action on it, or I can select the action or command I want to perform and then select objects to apply that command to. So the ribbon works differently for these two different modes. So for example, if I use noun-verb selection, I'll select an object first and see what's happened up on my ribbon. Now I have a green tab that's come up as I selected that object. So it's telling me it's using the alignment context tab, and it gives me the name of the particular alignment that I selected. It's in green to kind of show off that it's different from the normal tabs, the other tabs. And now we see that what I get on the ribbon is commands that are specific to the object that I selected. So the ribbon is, quote, smart. It's thinking about what you're doing, and it's trying to present the correct commands to you at the right time. So what we have here are some various things that we can accomplish with an alignment. So tags and labels. Then we can do some inquiry items. These will show up, of course, for most of the civil objects. And then we can modify things. So I can look at my alignment properties. I can also, remember, click the down panel here to do a couple other things. Notice when I have that down arrow on the panel. Okay. And then we also have in a lot of these contextual menus what's called the launch pad. So the product design team also spent some time trying to think about, after you've been working on this particular object, where would you like to go next? What's the next kind of task you'd like to perform after you're done editing that particular object? So that's what the launch pad typically contains, is their best guess at where you'd want to go next. Okay, now once I'm finished with that object, if I deselect it, then you can see that contextual tab goes away. When we use this noun-verb selection where I picked an object first, then it's going to go away right after I deselect that particular object. Now let's see, you might have the question, what if I select two objects? Now we get kind of what we would expect. So when we're selecting what we want to work on, right, if I select two objects, it's only going to present to me what I can do to both objects at the same time. And in this case, that would be just performing some general inquiries, right, and checking the properties of those objects. So it really limits what I can do. So in this particular state, you want to just remember that you're selecting one object at a time in order to get the full functionality of the ribbon presented to you. Okay? All right, now the other option is to select the verb or the command first and apply it to an object within the product. Okay? So the way we do that, for example, I have an alignment created already, so I may go to the Modify tab then to modify that object. So I say, let's see, I'm going to modify my alignment. I'll select that. And then what it gives me is a kind of bluish tab, or maybe it's a slightly purple. So once again, I'm getting a context tab here, the contextual tab, and it's called alignment. But it's a generic name of alignment, right? Because I haven't picked anything, it doesn't know that there's a particular alignment with a name here. It's just giving me the modify options for alignments in plural, so I can modify as many as I wish. So now I can go in here, and it looks quite similar to that green tab that we saw before. except one thing we notice here at the end, which is a close button. So you can imagine if you have a close button, that probably means this is going to stay open until you come back and close it, which is correct. So the nice thing about this particular workflow is I may want to be working on my surface as well. So maybe right now I'm working with alignments and surfaces. So I can go back to this Modified tab and I can select Surface. Well, actually it's over here on the ground design. So I select Surface. And now you can see I have two tabs. So once again, these stay open until you close them. So now what I do is I toggle back and forth between the command. So I don't select an object because that gives me the other tab. Here I select the command first. So I have a surface and I want to edit the surface. And then once I select the command, it'll ask me to pick the surface that I want to apply the command to. So you can see that's the main distinction between those green tabs, which is when we select the object first, the noun verb selection, and these purplish bluish tabs where I select the command or the verb and then work with the objects. So if you want to work on a number of objects at the same time, you'd probably want to open these tabs. And if you're just quickly editing a specific object, then you just go ahead and click it. It's a quick and dirty procedure and you're off and running. What we can also do here is kind of combine the two. So you can see now I selected my alignment and then I can work on it, deselect. And in that case it did close the other bluish tab, but my surface one is still open. So you can't have two states of a contextual tab, the exact same one open at the same time is what that means. Okay, in section 3 we will review quickly some customizations you can perform on the quick access toolbar, and then we'll try to answer some frequently anticipated questions surrounding use of the ribbon. So first let's have a look back at that quick access toolbar. We reviewed the default state in section 1, but what a lot of people don't think about is the ability to customize it. So you may have a command that you use frequently throughout the day and you don't feel like typing it in on the command line. Or it may be a command that's buried in a tab where you normally don't go to. It's just one particular command that you want to use. So let's see how we do this. Just click the down arrow here. We saw that in section 1. And then we'll select the More Commands option. That's going to open up our Customize User Interface dialog box here. Now I could scroll down through the list, but it's quite long. And notice you can select which group of commands you want to search through, or you can do all commands. So I'll just type something in here. So something, let's say like import points. So there I have the import points command. It's a very easy procedure. I just click on it and drag it up to the quick access toolbar. And there it is. It's that simple, really. So now it's added to my quick access toolbar, and I can initiate that command whenever I wish. Of course, just by clicking on the icon. There it is. So that's one way to do it. Also, if there's some command that's already on the ribbon and you want to add it directly to the quick access toolbar, note if I right click on one of the commands on the ribbon, I have an option to add to quick access toolbar. Okay? Now let me show you something in particular you can do. So I can go to the extended panel, of course, right click as well. But let's go ahead and look over on the Home tab. Remember we had some commands up in the panel that have pull down options. So let's select one of those. Maybe I'll select Corridor. I'll right click and say Add to Quick Access Toolbar. Now what it's actually done is copied this entire mini interface. So I have not only the corridor, but I have the pull down options as well. So we can see up here we have the down arrow as well, and we have those options there too. So those are two really quick ways that you can add often used commands up in your quick access toolbar. Now removing them is quite simple. You just put your cursor over it and right click, and you get the option to remove. Another thing you can do is you can add a separator. So that's a way that if you had a small collection of commands you added up here, you could put separators to kind of group them by feature or a certain type of workflow or something like that to help you visually know where, what kind of collections you wanted to be using. So quite simple, quite easy. Quick access toolbar. another trick in your toolkit for using Civil 3D more efficiently. Okay, now I wanted to try to anticipate a few questions about the ribbon. One very straightforward one is actually commands to turn the ribbon on and off. So you may at some point make a mistake and the ribbon is totally off, and you may want to turn it on. So there's two commands. One is ribbon close. So I'll just type that in. Ribbon close, all one word. And that completely turns off the ribbon. Then to turn it back on, I just type in the word ribbon. If I could spell properly here. Ribbon. So that turns the ribbon on and off. Another thing that's going to come up, of course, this is a new user interface for all of us, and you're used to earlier versions of Civil 3D, and sometimes it can be frustrating. There's one particular command and you just can't seem to locate it. We'll just go over to the Help pull-down menu, and you can't. It's a little bit chopped off in the video, of course, but you can see right here it's Where is my command? So select that. Now remember, I showed you in section 1 how in the application menu you can search for a command there. And the advantage there is then, as I showed, when you double click, you'll actually initiate the command right from that window. Here actually, though, the help is quite good. Our Tech Pubs team went through the old pull-down menus in Civil 3D 2009, and they have them all organized here. So you have all of the pull-down menus. You can select what you're used to from the old menu structure, say grading, for example, and then let's see, I want to do, edit grading. So where would I go to do edit grading? And it tells you here in the ribbon, go to the grading tab, the modify panel, and you'll see edit grading. And then it also shows you the icon here so you know what to look for. Now you can't access these directly. See, it goes right to the help for that item, but you cannot initiate the command from this particular option here. So that's only from that application toolbar search area. But it's still useful for using that old command, the old menu bar structure, in order to find things. Okay. Another thing a lot of people have asked is about the menu bars. So I have this new ribbon, and some of my users really like the old UI and they don't want to use the ribbon. Well, okay, you can type in the word menu bar, and the default state is 0, which means off, so we set it to 1, and then that will turn on the menu bar. Another way you can do it is in the quick access toolbar. If we click that arrow, notice we have hide and turn on menu bar here. So two ways to do it. Now what you'll notice if you look at this quickly is this is exactly the menu interface from Civil 3D 2009, and that is exactly true. There are no 2010 commands in this menu structure. So that's the major drawback to using these menus. And I think what I would recommend is, you may have some reluctant users. Maybe you turn this on for them for a little bit, but as soon as possible I would encourage them to use the ribbon. That's the way we're moving for future releases. To hold on to the old structure is not recommended. Of course, you're not going to get the 2010 commands as part of that structure. Now what you could do is, if you have customized pull-down menus, you could add just those in there so that you still have those available. So that would be one option as well. Then we also have the question of, where are the map commands? How do I access the map commands? Well, currently you go down to workspaces here in the lower right. You can see Civil 3D. And once again, you won't see the options in the video because of the resolution, but just click where I did, and you have two options. One is tool-based geospatial, and one is task-based geospatial. So two options that show you all the menus based on whether you want to see the tools or work by tasks. So I'll select tool-based geospatial, and you'll see that that will load up the map ribbon. Okay, so now we see the map ribbon. We don't have our normal workspace for Civil because we're in the map interface now. Okay, so there's my normal map commands, and then to get the Civil back, I just go back down here and switch back to my Civil workspace. Now if you know some of the map commands, you can actually add those in over here on the Civil side, but I think we've covered enough for now. You can always check on customization in the ribbon further in the help menu. There's a great amount of content there for being able to customize the ribbon. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you again next month.